Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are. Today I want to talk again about the same topic, and these are some things that I was thinking about since the last time I uploaded a video. What I didn't mention in the last video is that, by the way, I'm going to refer to him as William, although that's not his real name, but it's very close. It sounds very close to what his real name is. So William is old enough to be my father, which completely creeped me out. Coupled with the fact that this man is married and has children, he ought to be ashamed of himself. Like I said, now I work with men who are younger, in their 30s, and some even in their as young as in their 20s, and they have more respect and they understand proper decorum and how to conduct themselves in the workplace, and they take their job a lot more serious than he did, which is surprising to me because this man had to have been making at least $80,000 a year. I'm estimating that it had to have been at least $80,000 a year or more. Not only that, he told me that he owned a real estate company where he would find these homes that were in foreclosure, buy them, and make repairs and then flip them. So he had a lot going for himself. So what doesn't make sense to me is why would he risk all of that just for the minute or remote chance that he may be able to have a little sexual tryst or rendezvous with someone he barely knows. It just, to me, just doesn't make any sense. Let's just say if I was that type of person, if his wife were to have found out about it, then you're talking the possibility of him facing a divorce, a nasty divorce, losing everything that he's worked hard for, and then having to pay alimony and possibly child support. So for someone to risk all of that is just mind-boggling to me, that a man his age would act so impulsively. It's like he has no self-discipline or self-control. A lot of times these men that do these things, I think that they're probably going through midlife crisis, and they may or may not be in a happy marriage, and they want to know if they still got it, if women still find them attractive. And then sometimes it may not even be that. It may be just a case of them wanting to have their cake and eat it too, to be able to have a woman at home that holds them down, a good woman who's loyal and holds them down, takes care of their kid or children and supports them on the home front, and then be able to be out there in the streets messing around with a bunch of different women. One of the things that I found so annoying about this guy is that he would give me these ugly goo-goo eyes, trying to be sexy and trying to be seductive. But when I looked at him, I saw a fucking demon. And it's like I couldn't stand, it got to the extent that I couldn't stand looking at him. When I would see him coming, it would just make my skin crawl. And I'd be like, oh, here we fucking go again, this demon coming for me. He would blow kisses at me, pucker up his lips as if he wanted to kiss me, wink at me, whisper stuff to me like, I love you, baby. And it just made me so sick to my stomach because, once again, we're talking about a dude that's old enough to be my father. I just can't see myself dating someone or messing with someone who's that old, in addition to the fact that he's a married man. I would describe him as short, going bald, with a receding hairline like a clown, like Bozo the fucking clown. Honestly, to me, he looks like the late Gianni Versace, except darker skin, like an Aboriginal person or indigenous person, like such as the Native Americans in South America. And that's how he looks. So he's not really a bad looking dude, but him being so perverted made him look ugly to me. And people who have been following me or been subscribed to this channel a long time most likely already know how I feel about having romantic relationships or dating coworkers. I think coworkers, for the most part, should be off limits. You shouldn't really be mixing business with pleasure. I feel like people shouldn't. I feel like people shouldn't be shitting where they eat. Keep things professional. Whereas William tried to take every opportunity that he could to bother me or harass me. Some of the men that I work with now, they try their best to avoid interactions with women if they don't have to. Like I was saying before, I've had a few instances where some of my supervisors almost bumped into me. And these guys, when I was in elementary school, I'm going to describe their actions in this way. When I was in elementary school, we used to play this game called flag football. And we'd wear these flags on our waist. And one of the objects of the game is that the players had to snatch the flags off the waist of the person who was running with the football in order to stop them from making touchdowns. And like how the quarterback does all this twisting and turning and dipping and dodging in order to avoid being tackled. That's just how the supervisors act or react in order to avoid bumping into a woman or female coworker. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't want to be accused of any impropriety. Even though everyone knows it's an accident, some people interpret things differently. And there are some who go out of their way and would rather take long routes than to walk 2 feet past a female coworker just to avoid walking past a woman in a confined space. That's how on edge or uptight some people have grown because of sexual accusations of sexual misconduct and sexual harassment. And a couple of weeks back, there was this guy who was walking behind me pushing a cart, and I had to stop suddenly because there was something blocking my path, and he accidentally ran the cart into my behind. And I looked back, and you should have seen the look on this dude's face. It's like he was horrified, and he started apologizing to me profusely. So I knew that it was unintentional, but it's like he was worried that I might accuse him of sexual harassment. So even after he apologized to me profusely, he came back to me like 5-10 minutes later apologizing again. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to go through all of that. I understand what was going on. It was an accident. I understand you didn't mean to do it. You good. Don't worry about it. I don't know. Some people just think differently, I suppose. And then there's something else that I kept in mind too, and that's the fact that this man comes from South America, and South America does not have the level of human rights or women's rights that we have in the United States. I don't even think there's any concept of women's rights in Latin America, at least not on the level. It's not, if there is, it's nowhere near the level of women's rights that exists in the United States. So the machismo is very heavy and strong in countries like Peru. So, I'm not excusing William's behaviors, but there probably was somewhat of a culture shock, him coming from Latin America to the United States. But like they say, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. You got to get with the program and follow the rules. He had been through an orientation just like every other employee. So he knew, or should have known, that sexual harassment in the workplace is unacceptable. But maybe he decided to just take his chances anyway. So as I mentioned in the prior video, after I spoke to another team lead about William's behaviors, I didn't have any problems from him. But the last day that I worked, we all went out for a brunch after the shift was over. And we had a nice time. We sat at Dunkin' Donuts and had coffee and some breakfast sandwiches. And so after that, we came back to work and met in the parking lot and hugged each other goodbye and stuff. So William, I guess William wanted to take his last chance to give me one final dig. And as he hugged me and kissed me on the cheek, he said, "Honey, I coming to your house, okay?" And I was like, what the and I punched him, gave him a play punch on the shoulder. He was probably just kidding with me. I'm sure if I was down for it, he would have probably come over to my home. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening.